So hello everyone, and welcome to our monthly webinar series, Season Speaks, a virtual series. Thank you for joining us today for this month's topic, Mindfulness and Movement, a Resident's Story. I'm Stephanie Sanborn, the Director of Innovation and Education for Seasons, and I'll be your host and one of your presenters today. For background, Seasons is a Canadian retirement home operator that was established in 2009. We operate 22 retirement communities in Ontario and Alberta, with more in progress. We've proudly created a culture that's dedicated to providing residents with superior customer service. We also want our residents to be proud to call us home and know that they are surrounded by people who genuinely care. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Robert Gaskin, also known as Bob, our second presenter for our topic, Mindfulness and Movement, a Resident's Story. Bob was an accredited veterinarian and had a hobby of breeding purebred Samoyed dogs with his late wife, Connie. Bob is currently retired and a resident of Seasons Retirement Communities, and he was a participant in a university student-run program to explore mindfulness and movement, and he'll be speaking with us today on his eye-opening experience. During today's presentation, I will discuss the pathway to wellness at Seasons Retirement Communities and what it means to go beyond physical health. I'll also walk you through a university student-run practicum project with Seasons where our residents were able to participate in a program to support both their mental and physical well-being. I will then discuss the results and the findings of the program, and we'll get to speak with Bob, who was a participant in this program, for his perspective. And then we'll end today's webinar with a live Q&A session where we will be able to answer your questions. So for background, in May 2020, we partnered with students from the School of Health and Exercise Sciences at the University of British Columbia to develop a unique in-suite integrated movement, mindfulness, and meditation program for our residents. This was a practicum project for 6 students pursuing their human kinetics degree through UBC, and as part of an experiential learning practicum, they were required to do research into the topic of our choice and build a program accordingly. The students were to develop a wellness-based program, meaning a holistic approach to well-being. So we collaborated as a team to define what the parameters of the program should be, and we determined that building a wellness program needed to go beyond just physical exercise and should also target the mental and spiritual aspects of well-being as well. The students were tasked with researching the best approach to developing a holistic wellness program. The research revealed that incorporating mindfulness and gratitude in combination with movement in varying degrees could be a solid foundation to a program that's focused on the overall well-being for our residents. The team landed on 6 activities that could be done in 15 minutes a day and developed a daily guidebook to pilot at one of our communities for a 2-week period, and they would seek feedback from the participants. The activities that they landed on are these 6 items. Number 1, gratitude. 2, strength and balance. 3, flexibility and mobility. 5, fine motor skills. And 6, breathing and mindfulness. And I'd just like to share some of their research findings with these 6 activities. So the first activity we gave the residents in the guidebook was gratitude. And the research showed that when you practice gratitude on a daily basis, that it's linked with happiness and feelings of hopefulness. Overall, practicing gratitude has a positive emotional and psychological effects, according to the research. And so part of the program in the guidebook that we gave the participants was a gratitude journal. And this is an example from one of our residents, Ada, as she documented daily something she was grateful for every day. The guidebook incorporated a journal page where the residents were asked to write one thing each day. And here's an example of Ada's. And for example, on one day, she said that she was grateful that she got to visit with her family today. And writing these down daily was part of the program over the 2 weeks. Activities 2, 3, and 4 were based on physical movement. So the students found that according to the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology, adults over the age of 65 should follow this guideline. Physical activity should be mostly aerobic and should include muscle and bone strengthening activities 2 days a week, flexibility and balance training activities 4 to 7 days a week to prevent falls and facilitate independent living. As an example for this activity in our guidebook was doing leg strengthening exercises, such as practicing getting up from a chair without using your hands. The research indicated that being able to get up from your chair easily and steadily is a fundamental task for independent living. Activities 3 and 4 in the guidebook were all about mobility and flexibility. Mobility and flexibility training is important as it increases range of motion, making day-to-day movement easier, decreases stiffness, improves posture, and reduces joint pain. The picture above shows the importance of movements like you would use or find in yoga poses. You can also see Bob there in the picture demonstrating the importance of flexing your hands. This piece is so important for preventing injury. Some reports show that up to 50% of patients with hip fractures die within 6 months, and many of those who survive do not recover their baseline independence and function. In recent decades, the increase in life expectancy over 60 years of age has led to an exponential growth in hip fractures. Activity number 5 is fine motor skills. And when it comes to fine motor skills, having a diminished capacity in dexterity can have a large negative impact on your ability to complete daily tasks, such as flipping pages of a good book or taking time to put on your shirt. Practicing using fine motor skills will help keep these skills sharp. An example of an activity that we had in our guidebook for fine motor skills was collecting coins challenge. Using their thumb and index finger, the participants were asked to pinch coins, place one on top of the other to create a tower, all the while doing this challenge with their non-dominant hand. These exercises help to maintain dexterity while doing movements that involve small muscles, like buttoning up your clothes or flipping pages of a book. Activity number 6 was breathing and mindfulness. And what we learned here was participating in guided breathing exercises and mindfulness was the residents were learning to be aware of their thoughts and feelings and how to calm their mind. These breathing exercises increased overall feelings of well-being, improve concentration and thought clarity, and decreases stress. So we thought we would share with you Bob's reflection at the time upon completing this back in May.
Well, first of all, I'm grateful that there is people out there in academia and in professions that are decided that what they would like to do is study those of us who are aging. And so I'm very happy that they're pursuing that as a career. And because of that, it gave me a chance to participate in their work and contribute in some small way. And I found that by taking this for a 2-week period, it gave me easier understanding that there really are simplified 2 tasks. One is the physical part and the other is the mental. Because I sometimes tend to think that it's all physical and not so much mental. But this brought it back into focus, that it's actually a balance. And that's what I like to do.
So we wanted to also share the reflections of the students with you as well. The students were really excited about having participated in this program and creating this robust program for our residents and at Seasons. Some of the things that they felt that they learned was understanding, and they learned a lot about appropriate exercises for older adults. They also learned how to build a guidebook that would be easy to follow using simple, comprehensive terminology, and how to do detailed research on a specific topic, and how to communicate effectively in a professional manner. We feel it's really important at Seasons to build strong partnerships with academic institutions for several reasons. Students learning about aging and doing research in this area is very valuable to society to dispel myths about aging, and in doing so, contributes to eradicating ageism. We know that according to the Conference Board of Canada, the large baby boom generation born in the post-war years has dominated Canadian demographic trends since the 1950s. That generation began entering retirement earlier this decade, a process that will accelerate over the next few years. Over the next 10 years, 5.1 million Canadians will reach the age of 65. We can assume then that as the population ages, the healthcare costs will increase. So focusing on wellness rather than disease can contribute to promoting health and prevention rather than prescriptions and managing disease. So we concluded the program with a post survey given to our residents, and it revealed that this practicum was so successful and created a solid foundation for a movement and mindfulness program. The residents even suggested, why not have a graduated program going up to intermediate with or increased difficulty in the exercises. So this led to a second partnership to develop an intermediate program with increased difficulty. We partnered again with another set of students in the fall of 2020 to develop and create an intermediate level program. Upon completion of the pilot program, all of our residents were given a certificate from the university for participating in the program. And we just wanted to acknowledge the team of residents who developed the beginner level program and then came back to participate in the second pilot to give us great feedback so we can create and have a robust new program for all of our residents. And so this is what our guidebooks looks like as part of our signature Kicking It Up at Seasons exercise and movement programs. And as we embrace at Seasons a culture of wellness, we can clearly see that research supports this initiative, and we will continue to build in this program. And currently, we have a student from the Master of Gerontology degree program at Brock University who is doing her practicum placement with us, and she'll be rolling out this program and guidebook in a group setting at one of our communities. And her role will be to analyze how it feels within a group and what is the reflection that happens among the residents together as they do pursue this program together. And so I just wanted to take a moment here to acknowledge our students who created the program, both the beginner activity level program and the intermediate level program. So as you saw in the earlier clip, Dr. Bob Gaskin was an active participant in the development of this program. Bob was integral in providing solid feedback and in validating the importance of having balance of both physical and mental exercises in your daily routine. So let's welcome Bob now to hear more about his experience and have a few follow-up questions and personal takeaways from the program.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Bob. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So we're really excited to have you here to discuss this important topic of mindfulness and movement. But before we get started, Bob, before we kind of dive into that, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about your decision to move into a retirement home. Just to get a bit of understanding of what that was like for you. So the first question would be, when did you move into Seasons and why did you decide to move into a retirement home?
Well, Stephanie,
We moved into Seasons in September the 6th in 2017. Prior to that, we, like everyone, we had retired, but we're still living in our own home. Over a period of time, we found that to maintain the home, both physically and emotionally, that it was getting to be really too much. And of course, we weren't alone in that perception. Some of the indicators were that we were, I guess you could say, farming out or putting out to the private sector, hey, come and cut the lawn, for example, or come and clean the windows or clean the gutters. Normal activities that both my wife and I would have been carrying on for years. So, and of course, we had the family, our children saying, the house is really, to maintain the house, it's really getting to be too much. You should consider a retirement home. And that's in 2016, we really started to look into it in earnest and looked at 3 or 4 retirement homes, visited them to find out what they had to offer, and selected Seasons, which was only 15 minutes away from where we lived the last 40 years.
Yeah, that's a big, and it's a big decision, eh? Like you had mentioned you lived there for 40 years.
Yes, it was a decision made with some trepidation, some fears, some concerns, of course. And you're leaving from, I guess you could say you're leaving the nest, you're leaving memories, you're leaving an investment in your emotional well-being and familiarity and going into sort of the unknown. But once we got into Seasons, it took a while, but we definitely made the right move.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. How did you feel about that decision?
It took time to initially, of course, there was pluses. We, of course, I'm sure a lot of people said in our position, I worked 35 years. My wife's been busy in the house as working. And when we retire, I'm not lifting a finger. Well, that came true with Seasons. We got into Seasons and we found we were in an environment where they really looked after us. And it was accepting that and saying how grateful we were to be with a organization that really had our best interests at heart. So it took time, and now after about 8 or 9 months, I became an advocate and a convert in retirement living.
Right. That's really good to hear because, as you know, Bob, I think the perception of retirement living is very different than when you move in. You realize maybe I should have even made that decision sooner, you know.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah.
So now, Bob, let's get into your feedback on the program. What was it like to practice gratitude daily for that 2-week period?
Well, that's one of the things that surprised me because for weeks and weeks and weeks prior to being involved in this program, talking to residents, it was always, oh, are you going to exercise class? And oh, yes, I've signed up for this. Yes, I'm going at 11 o'clock. It was always in the context of exercising the physical body. What helped me in the program was that when we were doing that, we were also, there was a mental aspect to it. And that mental aspect was that there was things happening through the day that I was grateful for. In other words, oh, a very simple thing, I'll tell you. Oh, what do we have for dessert at supper time? They gave us chocolate eclairs. Were we ever grateful? Because little things like that, it was, wouldn't think be significant, but oh, that's a nice dessert. We're really grateful for that.
Right.
So that type of thing, or you got a letter from a great grandchild, and in it was their artwork at 7 years of age. And you got and looked at that and you said, oh, I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
And you didn't realize that you were getting these episodes of gratitude, and it was helping you emotionally. So that's what helped me over the 2 weeks. I started to tie these things in and brought them together.
Right. And that piece called mindfulness makes you kind of stop in the moment and appreciate, right, what's happening in the moment instead of it rushing by. That sounds beautiful too, that getting that card from your great grandchild. That sounds beautiful.
Yes.
And so the next question, Bob, is, do you still feel that finding the balance between mental and physical activities was your favorite part of the program? You mentioned a bit just now, but that was a kind of a big part of that first reflection you did of the clip that we showed earlier.
Yes. The other thing too I should mention is that the staff here at Seasons who look after our activities subtly and directly always give us, for instance, a daily activity mind game, or they will say emphasis sometime through the day, reminding you to be grateful. And there's evidence of that. And so with the staff support, along with our own awareness, increased awareness of combining the physical and mental well-being, really, I found, really helped as a reminder, because it tends to be, you need that boost that you wake up and say, today's a good day. Today I'm going to be positive. I know the weather's lousy, but today I'm going to be positive. And I think that all goes back to the fact that we have in place activities, both physical and mental. And so that was what I liked about the 2 weeks. It brought that to the forefront.
Right. And
because we tend to let it slip, I think.
yeah. And the other, so this kind of the timing of this program was really about, making some robust in-suite programs too. And it was in the middle of the pandemic, and you did have feedback at the time participating in this program that in May really helped you to remain positive, like you were saying. So what was that like during doing this kind of, practicing gratitude every day and trying to be positive, kind of in the midst of a pandemic?
Well, the thing that I found was, of course, like everyone, our world in the pandemic began to shrink. And by that, I mean that our contacts naturally, in order to control the pandemic, we had to minimize our contact. We had to minimize our activities. And so we had, I think all of us developed a kind of a program that would fit our own needs, along with trying to participate with what Seasons could offer us in a limited way. So a lot of people took up reading. A lot of people took up computer games. These kinds of activities sort of started, or people listen to music, or people put on movies, wanted to see movies, occupy their time. And but it was still within. What I liked about being a participant of this program, it took me out. There was someone outside my suite who was interested in my well-being. And it sort of was an incentive. Oh, good, something different.
Right. Yeah, and I remember talking to you or you shared a video at the time, like right after the pilot ended, that you kind of stepped back and came to this place of gratitude in the middle of the pandemic, as you were looking around, watching, the team at Seasons work, and how residents were coping, and you felt, grateful for kind of being in the spot that you were, and particularly in this program. And we were very, it was good to hear that feedback at the time. It was very, great feedback at the time. And I think we'll move on to the next question. So did you feel a change in your ability to perform the tasks or the exercises at the end of the 2 weeks? Did you see a change at all in yourself?
One of the changes I found was that at the end of the 2 weeks, I had incorporated that into my daily activity. In other words, first and foremost in my mind was, oh, today I must remember either to put an entry in the journal or to be mindful of being grateful for something, or something would trigger that. Something would bring that. And so it made me an awareness of a commitment, I guess is the best. It was a stronger commitment to say, yes, I know 4 to 7 days a week is a big commitment, and maybe I won't go to exercise. No, maybe I won't. No, you're going to go. There was that drive.
Right.
And of course, the result was I felt better. I felt better physically, a little more spring in my step, I guess is what you could say, and felt better emotionally. There was more of a commitment, I guess, as a summary.
Well, that's a great point. I'm glad you shared that. That almost, I guess I would call it, waking up with a bit of sense of purpose, because you were in the program and you wanted to remain committed and loyal to it. And that was part of the research that we learned too, that when people have something to wake up where there's a sense of purpose, that does also contribute to, good health and well-being. So now, Bob, we're going to turn it over. So I want to thank Bob, first of all. Thank you for sharing your feedback and giving us not only time in the pilot program and contributing, but also for attending today. We hope that Bob's feedback was relatable and helpful in your journey to wellness. We hope today's session has provided you with some valuable insight, tangible knowledge around how to incorporate gratitude and mindfulness and movement into your daily lives for a healthier overall well-being. So the next part of our session will be a live question and answer period. And if you haven't done so already, please submit your questions by using the Q&A option at the bottom menu bar. Feel free to continue submitting the questions during this time, and we'll do our best to answer the questions live. So Bob, I'm going to let you answer the first question. And the question is, Bob, what was your favorite memory of the program?
I would say the favorite memory was the gratitude aspect of it, because it gave me, as I said before, it was in my subconscious. I didn't realize it was taking place, but it brought it up to the forefront. And I began to realize that part of every day, there's a point to expect some gratitude. And it actually happens if you're aware of it. And that, I think, was probably one of the big things I got from the program, the awareness of being grateful.
Right. And what you mentioned earlier was that you felt you probably were grateful throughout the day, but more on an unconscious level. And this program helped you stop, be grateful, make a point of being grateful, and that contributed to a feeling of a positive feeling.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this, it's interesting that you say that, because the next question is from someone who says that I struggle with gratitude in my daily life. What is your recommendation to implement this easily into my routine?
Well, first of all, I found that making a journal, writing it down. In other words, get a little loose leaf book, get something on paper when you start your day. Have that out on your table, visible before you go to breakfast or something. You say, oh yes, call it a gratitude journal or a mindfulness journal, whatever you want to. And if you get that on paper, even a little note, oh, today's Friday. I wonder what kind of fish we're going to have in the menu. That type of thing, and you'll be grateful if it's halibut because that's your favorite. That type of thing, even as long as you get it on paper, I think it would help a lot.
Well, I totally support doing a journal. I mean, I've done, a lot of research in my own studies on the importance of journaling, but a gratitude journal specifically, I think it forces you to really reflect on your own life, and appreciate the little things that you probably go throughout your day not noticing. And that's the thing I think that's very important, especially as lives are very busy, and you can get caught up in the busyness of life, right?
Right.
So if you take the time to, that's really all about yourself and writing down what you're grateful for, we know through the research that contributes to the feeling of overall hopefulness and positive feeling of their health and well-being. So we have one other question. I think we both can contribute to this question. The question is, I would love to incorporate mindfulness in my daily life. Is really the easiest way to start. And so, I mean, I can talk a bit about that. Just in mindfulness really is paying attention to what you're doing in the moment. A lot of times we go about our day and our mind isn't even on the task that we're doing. We're somewhere else. And mindfulness is the practice of stopping and being mindful of the now, and not caught up either in the worries of the past or the anxiety of the future and what's to come, but really just in your day and in the now, practicing the practice of sitting and just being in the moment you're in. And that is not easy for a lot of people. I can be a ruminator, and I have had to learn that just practicing the now. When I go on a walk, I just focus on the walk, instead of thinking about what all the stuff I've got to do. What about you, Bob?
Well, that is very insightful what you said. For myself, what I always remember, the old saying is, we have 2 ears and 1 tongue. So we should listen twice as much as we speak.
Right.
And so I find that if I'm listening, I become mindful. In other words, if I'm in a conversation, one of the things I try and do is hear what the other person, be mindful of what they're trying to say. And the way I do it anyways is to develop the skill of being a good listener. And of course, you can't let your mind wander when someone is trying to make a point or talking to you or talking about an experience in their life. And this is what I find. I found one of the benefits I have is that I used to have 4 or 5 or 6 neighbors that I knew very well. Now I've got dozens and dozens who have a life story to tell me. Right. And I find it very interesting and intriguing to listen. Every once in a while, I get them talking and they add to their life story and add to my mindfulness of what that individual is all about and who they actually are.
Yeah, that is so important. I would agree with the listening. One other question here. So is there a resource you can suggest for furthering my understanding of mindfulness within my daily routine? When I talking about a resource, that what I could say is, there's a great book out there. There's a lot of books on mindfulness out there, but there is one called by Eckhart Tolle, On the Now, focusing on the now, which is very enlightening. And it does help people, as Robert was saying, to focus on what you're doing in the moment. And if that is someone's talking to you, listening carefully, or just if you're going on a walk, you're just focusing on that walk. That is a really great resource. And if you like listening to books, you can get that book on Audible and listen to that and go for a walk, which I felt very helpful for me. And so, Bob, you know, the one I wanted to just kind of ask one final thing about you. I just wanted to, I know that you moved into Seasons. We have just a couple minutes left with your wife, Connie. And she's no longer with you, but I thought maybe it would be nice to hear about your experience with her as you moved into Seasons, and if you wanted to share anything about that.
Well, she was, of course, I think like many spouses, a bit more reluctant on the concept of leaving the house and moving into a retirement residence, because from the perspective, my perspective anyways, most women who are married, one of their work sites, if they have a job outside the home, is also the home. In other words, that's their work site. And if a husband is really smart, he'll know when he's coming home, he's coming to his wife's work site, and he better be aware of that. And she's the boss. And if that is one of the concepts I have. But in taking that all together, you have to have that and say, now, I know your concerns. I know we both have a large investment in our current home, but now we're retired, and all we worked for can be realized in our retirement years. As we age, we will have an environment that takes into account our limitations in our abilities to live and function. And to me, that is one of the pluses, particularly here at Seasons. Seasons is my only experience in retirement living, but to me, it's the gold standard. They look and are concerned about all aspects of our retirement living. And yet they also respect that independence, that yes, we're moving into our suite, we're independent, but we're also interconnected. And that interconnectedness is, to me, one of the things that Seasons is well aware of and does excellent. Many programs address that. But I told the manager after being in here about 6-8 months, this is it. I'm not moving out. You can't kick me out. I'm here.
That's great. Well, with that, Bob, we're going to conclude today's session. Thank you for joining us for this month's Seasons Speak virtual series, and a big thank you to Bob for joining us today. If you're interested in getting in touch with us for more information or to book a tour, please visit our website at seasonsretirement.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Be sure to click like or follow to get the latest updates for our next Seasons Speaks webinar in August. We hope to connect with you soon. Goodbye, everyone.